Hello there, my name is Hido and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we've got the presence of the Lord himself, at least the Lord of Merfolk anyway. For some of us. I thought Thassa was the god of Merfolk, but maybe she isn't. Who really knows? But today's a Modern Horizon 2 video, and we're looking at Svyelun? God of Sky and Sea. A 3-mana 3/4 Merfolk god. As long as you control 2 or more of the Merfolks, Svyelun has Indestructible. Whenever it attacks, draw a card. Other Merfolks you control have Ward 1, and Ward means that if another Merfolk you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays an additional 1 mana. Really quite cool, you know. It's a nice Merfolk, excellent art by Seb McKinnon, he always does a good job. And overall, it's a cool little sort of build around. You know, there's a couple of different things going on. Obviously, we want to be playing Merfolk, so we're going to be quite a tribal deck, but there's a couple of different ways that we can take it. If you enjoy these videos, please do subscribe. I'm going to be making one for every single legendary creature that's ever been printed and will be printed in the future. I mean, they haven't happened yet. I assume more will happen. But if you enjoy it, please do carry on watching and subscribe. So without further ado, let's get to my top 5. And in at number 5, we've got Lord of Atlantis. Double blue for a Merfolk Lord, 2/2. Other Merfolk get 1+1/+1 and have Island Walk. So, as I said, this is going to be a very Merfolky, sort of fishy deck. So why don't we have as many of the Merfolk Lords as possible? And Merfolk is not shorter than by any stretch of the imagination. Master of the Pearl Trident is exactly the same card that we just saw. Double blue for a Merfolk 2/2. Other Merfolk creature control get +1/+1 and have Island Walk. Island Walk is also incredibly good because it just allows our creatures to just get in over and over again. And blue is a pretty popular colour. The likelihood that your opponents will be playing an island is quite high. Then we've got Merfolk Sovereign, 3 mana for a 2/2. Other Merfolk creature get +1/+1. Target Merfolk creature can't be blocked this turn. So this allows us to just get in with maybe our commander. Yes, an indestructible attack is great, but why don't we get in for some damage as well? And we're going to be drawing cards with our commander at the same time. Then Meryl Harbinger, 3 mana for a 2/2. Other Merfolk creature control gets +1/+1. Whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you may tap or untap target permanent. Now, this is going to come in later as part of this deck is all about maybe returning creatures to your hands and recasting them for good effects. So having an effect like this, that whenever you cast a Merfolk, you tap or untap something, it could be quite good. Then these are a couple of sort of lords, but they are really cool Merfolk. Deep Channel Mentor, 6 mana for a 2/2. Terrible start, but other blue creature, just all blue creature control are unblockable. So just allows us to get in over and over with our Merfolks. Then Seafloor Oracle, 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever a Merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So if we're giving all of our things unblockable, well, why don't we draw a ton of cards? And our commander will draw us 2 cards, 1 when it attacks and then 1 when it deals damage. So that's pretty solid, I'd say, and an excellent reason to go playing Merfolks. Finally, Stony Brook Bannerette is a 2 mana 1/1 Merfolk wizard. Island Walk. Nice bit of evasion. And Merfolk spells and wizard spells you cast cost 1 generic less to play. This is really good and allows us to just deploy everything a lot quicker. Moving on to number 4. And in at number 4, we have Coralhelm Chronicler. 3 mana for a 2/2 Merfolk wizard. Whenever you cast a kick spell, draw a card and discard a card. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with kicker ability from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I really like the idea of basing the sort of deck, or at least part of the deck, around kicker. It's a really cool mechanic. It's, you know, early game you can just play a generic sort of card, and late game you get a nice big effect. Maybe you draw some cards, so on and so forth. So having a kicker sub-theme feels really good with this deck, especially as this is a Merfolk. Then we've got Thieving Skydiver, 2 mana for a 2/1 with kicker of X. X can't be 0. It's flying, and when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. Main use we're going to steal Sol Rings, things like that, get a nice bit of ramp going on, but you can end up stealing Blightsteel Colossus if you pay 12 mana for the X, and this is an excellent card with Kicker. Then we have Slyn Voda, the Rising Deep, 8 mana for an 8/8 with Kicker of 2, so 10 mana total if you want to kick him. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return all creatures to their owner's hands except for Merfolk, Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents. So absolutely fantastic in this Merfolk tribal deck. It works well with the Kicker sub-theme, and it also gets us tons of value. Then Rite of Replication, an absolute classic. 4 mana for a sorcery with Kicker of 5. Create a token that's a copy of target creature. If this spell is kicked, create 5 of those tokens instead. This will absolutely end games. Yes, we can get it onto one of our Merfolk Lords, so everything ends up getting +5/+5. Or we could, potentially steal one of our opponent's massive creatures and have absolutely tons of them. Absolutely great bit of value. Then Skyclave Relic, 3 mana for an artifact with Kicker of 3. It's indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2 tapped tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour. This is a great little ramp spell, and so is Everflowing Chalice there. And we want to be playing ramp anyway, it's just a thing that you do in Commander. And this works really well with the Kicker sub-theme, so it's an auto-include for me. Then Blink of an Eye, 2 mana for an instant, Kicker of 2. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, draw a card. So a lot of the time we're going to be using this against our opponents, on their big threat. But as I was saying earlier, we want to be maybe returning some cards to our hand and then replaying them. You could even do this kicked on a kick Skyclave Relic to return the original and then get 2 more copies of it. Things like that are distinctly possible. Then Everflowing Chalice, 0 mana for a artifact with multi-kicker of 2. Multi-kicker is basically kicker, but you can pay it as many times as you want. Everflowing Chalice enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked. And it taps for a generic colorless mana for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. Which brings me on to number 3, and these are cards that help us return back to our hand, and some things that maybe we want to return back to our hand. And the first one is Arctic Merfolk. 2 mana for a Merfolk 1/1 with Kicker. Return a creature you control to its owner's hand. If you pay the kicker cost, Arctic Merfolk comes into play with a 1/1 counter on it. So, are we bothered about having a 1/1 counter? No, not really. But the fact that you can kick it and return something back to your hand's initial cost to cast the spell, well, that just allows us to redeploy our threats, redeploy the sort of enter the battlefield effects that we want to be reusing. To go along with this, Merfolk Wayfinder is a great Merfolk in this deck. 3 mana for a 1/2 with flying. I guess it makes sense. Well, a Merfolk with flying... Why? I mean, yes, it is riding on some kind of thing. It's that thing that killed Steve Irwin. What's it called? I can't remember. Anyway, makes no sense. It should have Island Walk. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all island cards you revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this can get you tons of value, get you lots of lands. You can keep playing your lands every single turn. This is just a great thing to bounce back to your hand and then redeploy. Then we've got Riverwise Auger, 4 mana for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. Magus of the Brainstorm, essentially, here. And it's a Merfolk. It's something great that you want to redeploy. And then with, the little combination here, Riverwise Auger first, then play your Merfolk Wayfinder, and you've put 3 lands on top of your library. You draw 3 cards. You just keep digging deeper and deeper. Then Meryl Harbinger is a 4 mana 2/3 with Island Walk, and he's a Merfolk. When he comes into play, you search your library for a Merfolk card, reveal it, and shuffle your library. Put that card on top of it. So this just gets you any of your Silver Bullet cards, your Thieving Skydancers, things like that, when you need them the most. Really, really good card. Then, I mentioned her earlier, Thassa, who I thought was a Merfolk god, but she's just a god. She's not a Merfolk at all. She's an enchantment, though. 4 mana for a 6/5 with Indestructible. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Thassa isn't a creature. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. And you can pay 4 to tap another creature. So yes, this doesn't return to the hand, so we won't get any cast triggers, but we can reuse any enter the battlefield effects that we might have. Harbinger of the Tides, double blue for a 2/2. When you cast Harbinger of the Tides, you may cast it as though it had flash by paying an additional 2. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target tapped creature to an opponent's controls to its owner's hand. So excellent bit of interaction, can get rid of a commander with maybe a tap ability, something like that. And then Merfolk Trickster, 2 mana for a 2/2 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls. It loses all abilities until end of turn. Now, the loses all abilities, you can get really tricky with this. Say they're attacking with an indestructible Ulamog. You know, someone has a death toucher on the field and they're attacking them. Well, you flash this in, Ulamog loses indestructible, and then the death toucher kills it. It's a cool little card that you can put into your deck. Which brings me to number 2, and it's not a Merfolk, but it works quite well with the deck. It's Opposition. 4 mana for an enchantment. Tap an untapped creature you control. Tap target artifact creature or land. Now, this is absolutely fantastic and incredibly miserable to play against, which is the best sort of card, really. It can absolutely hose your opponents. And if we're tapping a lot of Merfolks, well, let's make a lot of Merfolks. Well, not Merfolks specifically, just make a load of dudes. Master of Waves is a 4 mana 2/1 with protection from red. Elemental creatures you control get +1/+1. When it enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/0 blue elemental creature tokens equal to your devotion to blue. Devotion is just how many blue pips. You know, my card here has 2 there. This can create an absolutely massive board, and if you have opposition, you can use all of those elementals to just keep tapping down your opponent's lands. When they start their turn, at the beginning of their upkeep, tap all of the lands down, and then they've got no mana to do anything. Or tap down their creatures if they're going to attack you. Meryl Commerce is a great card with opposition. 2 mana for a tribal enchantment Merfolk, so you can tutor it up with any sort of Merfolk tutors. At the end of turn, untap all Merfolk you control. So with opposition, you can tap everything, stop, maybe get through some damage, and then you can untap all your Merfolk at the end step, which is just fantastic. Allows you to get double the use out of opposition. And then Lull Mage Mentor. 3 mana for a 2/2. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may put a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token onto the battlefield. Tap 7 untapped Merfolk you control, counter target spell. So as we're playing blue, I don't know if you guys know this, but blue, rather famous for control magic, counter spells, things of that sort of nature. Well, we can get a lot of value from them and making a bunch of Merfolks, and then eventually we can counter a spell every single turn. And it's just so cool. It's so interesting that you can do it, and it's unique to this sort of deck. Then, if we're tapping some Merfolk, well, let's have a couple of other ways to tap them. Drowner of Secrets, 3 mana for a 1/3. Tap an untapped Merfolk you control. Target player puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So we can go on the mill plan. Is this going to be that good? Probably not, but if we're untapping our Merfolk, why don't we have something to do with them? Then Fallow Sage is a 4 mana 2/2. Whenever Fallow Sage becomes tapped, you may draw a card. So yes, that can be from attacking, but with all of these things, opposition, Drowner of Secrets, we can tap it to just get a bit of value and draw a card. Finally, this card isn't legal in this deck, technically, but I see absolutely no reason you can't play it. You can, every ability on it and the casting cost, you can pay blue, just blue by itself for. You don't need the white for anything. So, in my opinion, this should be totally legal in this deck. Pure Sight Marrow, double blue, or double white, or a white blue. For a Merfolk Wizard 2/2. Pay a blue, or a white, untap it. Look at the top card of your library. You may remove that card from the game. Why is this so good? So, with opposition, you tap the Pure Sight Marrow, pay a blue to untap it, and then you can tap it again, and over and over and over. So for as many blue mana you have, you can just keep tapping things down. It's just so powerful, and you can dig through your entire deck using this. It's so cool. The artwork is absolutely amazing. It looks lovely in foil. I have one in my cube. I would recommend putting this in the deck. Obviously, before the game starts, double check with your play group or whoever you're playing with. Say, I have a double blue card, a blue-white card, but I can play it in my mono blue deck. Is that okay with you? Hopefully they'll say yes. If not, just have a replacement on hand. And then at number 1, well, our commander, it's an on-attack trigger. And in Mono Blue, there aren't too many ways to get extra combat steps. But I'll tell you what you can get. You get extra turns. Wonderwine Prophets is a 6-mana 4/4 Merfolk wizard that has champion a Merfolk. So when this comes into play, sacrifice it unless you remove another Merfolk you control from the game. When this leaves play, that card returns to play. So this is another way you can reuse an enter the battlefield effect. If you flicker the Wonderwine Prophets, the other creature comes back in, then Wonderwine Prophets comes back in, exiles it again, and you can keep getting lots of use out of your enter the battlefields. But the main reason we want to play it, whenever Wonderwine Prophet deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice a Merfolk. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. So with all the Merfolk tokens that we got flying about and the multiple ways that we can make things unblockable, Wonderwine Prophets can just keep getting in and getting extra turns over and over again. And our commander, every single time it's going to be attacking, will be drawing us cards. And everything's got ward, so, things are harder to kill. It's just so great in this deck. To go along with it, let's have some more extra turns, shall we? Lighthouse Chronologist is a 2-mana 1/3 to start with. But he has the level up mechanic, which means at sorcery speed you can put a level counter on it for a single blue. When it's levels 4 to 6, it becomes a 2/4. Nice and aggressive. But then when it's level 7 and plus, so we put 7 blue mana into it, it's a 3/5, which is just, how do you stop it? Oh, and it has some text. At the beginning of each end step, if it's not your turn, take an extra turn after this one. So we can just keep ploughing in with our commander. We get an extra turns, extra draw steps. We're untapping everything so we can just ice everyone out of the game. It's great. It's just wonderful. Then Walk the Aeons, 6 mana for a sorcery with buyback, sacrifice 3 irons. So as an additional cost, you can sacrifice 3 irons to get it back to your hand. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. It's going to be me. I'm taking the extra turn. If you're playing against me, you're going to target me as well. It's just the way it works. Then the classic, well, not the classic, Time Walk is the classic, but Time Warp is a 5-mana sorcery. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. Me. And those are my top 5 cards for this brand new Merfolk God. It's really, really cool. I usually hate tribal decks. I just think they're really boring. But this one's quite cool. There's a lot of sort of different directions you can take it in. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, subscribe, and follow. Is that something you can do on YouTube? I don't know. But if you can, please do. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.